The Talkin Kop. I'm your host, Phil. Beside me is Gav, and beside him is Pete. Well, actually, beside me on the other side is Pete as well. So I'm stuck in the middle, listening to opinions and different tasks. You might have noticed this is International Beard Week. So Gav has his, Pete has his, and I've grown mine just in time for this as well. And it's great to see that everyone is looking fit and well on this Monday night, especially after Storm Isha and ahead of Storm Jocelyn. And the good news is, if we get past Storm Jocelyn, we're on to Storm Kathleen. Once we pass Storm Kathleen, we're on to Storm Liam.
Is there just one a day now? There was
getting
no
that way,
storms when
right?
we were younger, Phil. Like, there's probably 4 or 5 years between me and you, I think, right?
Hurricane
And there was
Charlie.
never
I
fucking
remember
storms.
Hurricane Charlie, so does Philip.
Right, but there was
Wasn't a storm.
There was probably some big one. But like, it used to take them years to go through the alphabet. Now they're lashing through it every month.
Well, see, now this is the thing, Gav, right? Global warming. Wait till I tell you about global warming.
Oh, no, move on. Fuck's sake.
But right, so the most storms on record that we've ever had in one storm season. So the storm season starts on the 4th of September and finishes on the 31st of August the following year, right? Now this is a bit of geography teaching here for you, right?
That's the whole year.
That's the whole year. So you have the storm season, which basically covers the whole year.
Storm all the time.
Storm year.
Right.
Year to year storms, right? But the main storm season in Ireland is October to the end of March, right? So think about it, right? So that's a short window. We teamed up with the
Well, it's half the year.
Yeah, the English Met Office and now the Dutch Met Office, right? So we're seen as the Western front of storms, right? And then that's where the names are now Dutch, Irish, and English. So that's why you get this mix of Jocelyn, Babette, Isha, all that type of stuff. So as I said, Kathleen is next. Kathleen is next to be named, and this year it's all women's names as opposed to men's. Next year it'll be all men's names, right? So the most storms we've ever had, ever, in a year is 2015-16 and 2017 and 18 when we got to the 11th letter of the alphabet, right? After tomorrow, we're at 10. There's a chance we could break records here, lads. There's a big chance we could get there. We've got 2 months.
No, listen, weather like that used to come through Ireland and we went, it wasn't great out last night, was it? There was no name on it. It was just very windy and rainy last night. There was no drying out, right? There was no drying out, and we just got on with it. Now they're naming it every day.
No, not that. You have to meet certain standards. Standards of practice.
That's because we brought the Dutch and the Brits in. The Irish would have just went, that's not a storm, fuck off, annoying us.
No,
it's just ourselves. We're
staying
out of this.
It's just that they're telling us now, right? So, because when somebody said to me 2015, 2016 was the most storms, and 2017, 2018 was the most storms, I was like, no, it wasn't, right? So I was like, no, it wasn't. I remember living in Greystones at the time, and there was literally no storms. There was just loads of windy nights.
You've reverted back. Right? I don't know how we've gone to this. This is a mad tangent. We're meant to be over here by 11 and we've 3 topics. But this is the thing. You just said to yourself that they're not storms. You see, we're giving storms way too much credit now. That's what's wrong.
Right, but can I just... So the names in 2015 and 16, see if you remember any of these, right? Because I don't remember any of them. Right. Abigail, Barney, Clodagh, Desmond, Eva, Frank, Gertrude, Henry, Imogen, Jake, and Katie. Do you remember any of those? Any of them being
Storm
in the news?
Desi might ring a little bit of a bell.
Storm Desmond is about the only one that I remember in that whole thing. But there was 11 of them, and I remember saying to Rosie, because Rosie was anyway. Another story altogether. I said, but like, do you remember when we were down in Delgany and it was stormy every single night? And I was like, oh Jesus, and that seems to be very stormy all these times. But like they had names, they just didn't tell us. It was just like it was a bit windy tonight. Now,
no, we didn't want to know.
Be careful.
We didn't want to know. We were the neutrals. You see, when it comes to war, we go, listen, nothing to do with us, and we were the same with storms. Nothing to do with us. See, the Brits and the Dutch and all them were naming it. And then we jumped on with them. And the minute we jumped on with them, you have to take ownership of these storms. And I'm not having
We've been in league with the English now for a good few years with these storms, right? It's just, all we said was, unless it's a hurricane, we're not going to really put a name out there because they'll just laugh at us. It's like if they think it's like that's a bit of a breeze. The fellas out windsurfing and everything.
I think all the major supermarket brands have got us in on this. Because as soon as you hear there's a storm, their fucking income goes through the roof. I
think it's health and safety.
Milk, 5
Kev
O'Sullivan
O'Sullivan attacked me at the fact that I laughed about stormophilia. Right? I was like, it wasn't a storm. It was a bit of a breeze that went across the town.
Funny fact. Kev's daughter was walking yesterday and I had to come home early because the work being done to the shop she's working in, the scaffolding blew down off the building. And she had to come home. So there you go, fun fact. There you go.
Well, there you go. There's a fun fact. Anyway, that's Weather Watch on tonight's show and the Monday night show. It's good to have you all. Look forward, batten down the hatches. Storm jostling. Be a quick one, but it's going to be a hard one tomorrow night between the hours of 6 and 11 in Ireland and whatever other time it's going to be.
Did you say? So it goes around the alphabet. So it doesn't. Because I wanted, when it gets to I wanted to be Storm in a teacup.
No, we've passed it. That was Isha.
But that's what I'm saying. When it comes back around, someone should name it for the crack in a teacup.
You'll have to get on to the Dutch lads.
Well, why are the Dutch in charge of all this? See, this is the thing. We become part of this. We start taking on their names. We start becoming responsible for naming this.
Can I be honest?
Input on it.
Why are the Dutch in charge? Think about this, right? Would you put the English in charge? Not a hope. Not a hope in hell, right? Like, let's think about it.
But if we were in charge, we
polluted country in Europe, most polluted water in Europe. They can't vote out the people who want in because they're completely confused, right? They decided to Brexit and they're up the Swanee now, all the stuff, and they're going, geez, this isn't a great idea, but we're not going back to that, right?
What I'm saying is put us in charge. Put us in charge. It'll take us ages to get through the alphabet. Because we'll just go, it's grand.
I'll have to stop you there, right? Because think about it. We can't forecast.
There's someone in the chat called Storm in a Teacup. It's amazing. Amazing work.
Well, we can't forecast to save our lives. So we're better off just saying to the Dutch lads, listen, we'll give you a dig out. We'll send you over all the stuff. You just do the names there and throw in a few Irish names and we're happy out. And then the lads can sit back and have a tea break and watch the television and all that type of stuff and go, yeah, orange, red, yellow. Orange.
But they should do it as Irish names, because you ever see the Americans trying to say the Irish names? It does be phenomenal.
Yeah,
and what we do is we just send them the name without like the pronunciation or how to say it, and just let them go with it. I'll stay up to watch that. Sorry, Phil.
Okay, we can all shout out colours. I think we should be allowed. We should vote on what colours we think the storm is going to be, as opposed to wondering what the power of the wind or anything like that. Just go, what colour storm do you want this week? And everyone wants an extra bank holiday. They go red, and then we all get red, and everything closes down.
But you see, this is the thing. If they brought into law where anything above a yellow warning, nobody walks. There'd be no fucking storms.
Oh, there would. There'll be storms because the Met Ireland lads are civil servants. They every week, as soon as there's a hint of a breeze, orange, orange.
Orange. It wasn't COVID because the government of fortune.
2-day working week, orange. Anyway, I'll talk about orange. Let's get on to the football, lads. Right, we're in to talk about our 3 topics tonight, based on things that came to our mind over the weekend, whilst we were watching the games unfold and Liverpool win and all that type of stuff that goes on. I'm going to start tonight. I think it's a good place to start, and I think it actually flows into the rest of the conversation we're going to have, because I think there's a nice natural flow to these ones as they go along. So the first one, I'm going to start with you, Gav, in terms of your overall topic, which is the squad depth needs for a title challenge. We discussed it before. I keep saying, I need to stop this because I got really good. I got really good at not. I got really good at not doing it right. Yeah. At one stage, I was coursing too much, and I had to stop that, knock that on the head, and I got rid of the M's.
Too much time with Shawnee Lawson. Yeah. That's what was wrong there.
Yeah.
And then, Sean.
And so I'm going to have to change. I'm just going to do sort of the American commentator stuff where just a pause, which is while I gather my thoughts in terms of what goes on. But as I do that, I'll turn to you, Gav, and I'll ask you, if from your point of view, what is it about squad depth, particularly when you look at this Liverpool team who had 10 players missing before the break and 10 players missing at the weekend when they went off to play Bournemouth?
I think, look, this is probably more born out of Kevin De Bruyne turning back up for Man City last week. City, they're missing Haaland. They've missed Haaland a little bit. They've missed De Bruyne. Other than that, you're kind of looking, going, maybe one here or there. But overall, they've been fairly deep. I don't think they have a deeper squad as everybody makes out. I think it's more the approach of other teams towards how they play Man City is how Man City navigate themselves through most of a season. Because for me, when you watch Man City, 30% of the game is just Man City warming down, the sort of way. And when De Bruyne came back last week, everyone was like literally people online, and it's the worst place to look, but people online going, there's no point anymore. De Bruyne is back. He's assisted and he scored. Now, he does assist. He does score. Newcastle are on their last legs. They're dropping off, and it's a really good second goal actually. A man gets, but it was kind of like oh, look, he's back, and boom, 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 and there's no point, the league's over, these will run away, that cheats, this, that, and the other, right? And I kind of try to stay away from all that, because I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, yeah, okay, but if City win their game in hand, we're 21 games in, and Liverpool are ahead of them. And Liverpool have arguably had a worse time of it with regard, forget even decisions and stuff like that. Liverpool should be unbeaten this season. Let's be fair. But when you look at the breakdown of the injuries we've had, who we've had them to, and the times we've had them at, right? I think Liverpool have navigated this season really, really well. Now, a lot of people out there going, there's a long way to go. Absolutely. There's more or less half a season to go. But when it comes to squad depth, I was looking at that, following on from the whole City thing, looking at yesterday. And I looked at that team and I went, there's a lot of players in there still that would expect, right, to be in the Liverpool team. You know, Joe Gomez right now would, like, who are you dropping him for? That would be his argument. You know, Conor Bradley comes in, he's a young lad, I think he's had 2 really good games, right? And I'm not saying that Conor Bradley's going to be a right back for Liverpool for the rest of the season if you want to win a title, but what I'm saying is looks like a very capable deputy to Trent, right? You look at midfield, McAllister, I thought was outstanding yesterday, and is starting to find his feet. Played the full 98 minutes as well, which was huge. Endo has to come back, right? You have Thiago, who's being pictured now in training. He has to come back. Bajcetic has to come back. Elliott's get grown. Gravenberch will. You know, Szoboszlai out injured. I don't think that's any harm to him. Like you said, 9 players missing or whatever it is. 2 of those are left backs. You know, Salah's away, and I just thought to myself, how much more depth do we really have to get here before people say Liverpool are possibly strong enough to win a league title? And I don't think they're far off it. Now, I'm not going into quality. You know, people will argue Man City may not have as many recognisable players as we have, because when you go beyond 14, 15 for them, you're looking at the looks of the guy that scored last week for them. There's other players there. Arsenal, very open as to what their squad is, and I'm not going to argue who's better than who, because that's done by fucking teenagers on the internet. But what I am saying is that when I look at this, and I'm not even trying to convince myself, I said on the thing last night, Liverpool have a title to win here, and I don't care what anyone says, and I can be eating loads of humble pie come the middle of March if Liverpool have a bad time. But right now, I wanted to see what people's thoughts are on this, because I believe currently as we sit, we have the depth, and even if you add in 4 of those that have to come back, I think Liverpool have the depth. This will all come down to application and having the nerve for it, and having the balls for it, and just having the stomach for it. And I think Liverpool won a game yesterday, and did he look bothered at half-time to 0-0? No. Did he look bothered at 1-0? No. 2-0? No. When it went 2-0, they just went, here, we're just putting these away. We'll pick our chance when we want, and we beat them 3 or 4. And that's a big thing when it comes to running into a league title and into a title run, because it's all about putting games away and how you put them away. And Liverpool put it away really good yesterday. So when people say, I'm not too sure, and at the start, like Shawnee said loads of times, at the start of the season, you know, get 4th and get a good run in the Europa League. I think that was absolutely fair. But right now, the way this team has progressed and handled adversity, Liverpool are without doubt in a title race, and without doubt have the depth. That should never come as an excuse if you don't go and win this title. I could be wrong. You might tell me I am. People in the chat might tell me I am, but that's where I am on it, because I just keep looking at our squad, and people don't fancy A, B or C, but they're all turning up and they're all playing and they're all getting games and we're winning. We've lost 1 league game in about fucking 35 games or something. You know what I mean? So, am I mad? Am I over-egging the depth here? Am I over-egging the quality? Are my expectations too high? I don't know. But the whole City thing and what we done yesterday and who's out and who's to come back. Because I keep getting, Arsenal have this fella to come back and City have this fella to come back. And I'm going, yeah, come here. You need about fucking 15 minutes for me to tell you who Liverpool have to come back. So maybe I'm just away with the fairies and I'm just too optimistic. But I'm quite happy to die on that optimistic hill, to be honest.
Pete, you once famously said when we were discussing this the last time that our squad was shite, and that we had no squad depth whatsoever.
Yeah. No, I did say that.
I took you to task on it, stating that you're completely insane. And here we are now sitting top of the league, looking like that we have a squad that has the capability in it, right, to put up 80 to 85 points. Now, Gavin, just hear me out on this. I'm not saying win the league, but I'm talking about to be in the hunt, right? Let's put it, if we're in the
halfway
hunt,
point, Liverpool were on target for 84, 85, yeah.
Yeah, so 85 points, right? Which to me, where I thought we'd be at the start of the season, I was in the Shawnee Dawson camp. That I said top 4, back in the Champions League, run at the Europa, play well, great. But Pete, you thought our squad is shite. We're sitting top of the league now. What's your thoughts at this point in time, given you think Kelleher's terrible?
Gavin mentioned humble pie, 10 minutes ago, and he was right. He's right. No, to be honest, you must remember when I said that it was coming off the back of we had beaten Crystal Palace, but we had the worst first half of football I'd ever seen. But a couple of surprises for me, and I'm really, really happy to be wrong. I mean, Conor Bradley, nobody saw coming, but let's see how that goes, because Klopp will do as usual. He'll take him out of there, and whet his appetite. Diogo Jota just coming in and filling in a gap. It's almost as if Mo Salah's not even missing. Even Joe Gomez has been absolutely outstanding at left back. To be honest with you, I don't know if I saw that coming. And it's not a fluke either. Bournemouth going into the game yesterday, I think Bournemouth perhaps were maybe the top form team, if not the second top form team.
Won 7 of the last 8.
I think the difference as well, Gav, for me, maybe Klopp has changed his approach to games as well, which is great. We used to fly at sides. I mean, I look at Liverpool now, and I'm just hoping that we're within. If it's 0-0 at half-time, I don't panic, because it's almost like looking at 2 heavyweight champions. Like looking at Liverpool 17-18 was like Mike Tyson, a 20-year-old Mike Tyson, going out to destroy fellas early, get it over with, and perhaps get pegged back towards the end. Liverpool now seem to be looking at sides going, right, let's see what you have. Let's see what you have. And then coming out and doing the more mature heavyweight thing and knocking people out towards the end of games. I mean, it's a lot to do with Klopp as well, and the way he's managed all of those players. And like you said, Gav, with the amount of lads that are coming back, even like I would have said to you 6 weeks ago, and we'll get on to it later about Darwin Nunez, disaster. But even the way he's managed him and the way he seems to have just jumped into the mentality of where we are, nothing bothers that young fella. Nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing but fella slagging him, missing chances, he just keeps showing up. I mean, the easiest thing to do is what Arsenal forwards do, and miss a couple of chances, and then we'll say take Kai Havertz, just go hiding. He just sits back forward at 20, 30 yards and doesn't participate in the game. Nunez just keeps putting himself up.
Are you on to Nunez already here?
No. But just the side in general, it's incredible to see. It's incredible to see just the resilience. And like moaners like me who would look at 45 minutes of the Crystal Palace game and go, we're doomed, we're shy, we haven't got at it. It's almost like without even looking at the second 45 minutes and going, look what we've done.
I think what happened, like we had a big row that night and it was great. We really enjoyed it. But I think what probably got to you at the time, and I think part of it is fair, when we look at this team, like, and we spoke about it last night, if you keep Alisson, Van Dijk and Konate healthy, if you tell me they're playing the next 17 league games without injury, I'm putting a considerable amount of money on Liverpool to win the league, because they just look like they've just found a zone now where it doesn't matter who's playing left back, and it doesn't matter who's playing right back, and it doesn't matter who's playing in that defensive midfield. They have decided they're marshalling this whatever way they need to marshal it, and they're going quietly about their business. And I think what you were probably looking at and probably got done by was Kelleher's in goal, right? If we've a long spell with Kelleher in goal. Now, I'm not as worried by that as you would be, but I still think the Alisson thing is massive. Like, absolutely massive. Like, the fellow went through again for Bournemouth last night, and Alisson just came out and stood in front of him, and your man didn't know what to fucking do. He just kicked the ball wide and said, here, forget it. I'm going back up, I'll get back into position. And I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong, if those 10 players are out for the next 15 games, that's just an unrealistic ask on a squad, regardless of what quality is left in it. But I just think the way we've managed things, the way we will get players back, like Soboslai will be back very soon, Trent will be back very soon, Thiago by Chelsea, we're not too sure, but like Salah back mid-February, you know, Endo depending on the Asian Cup back mid-February, you know, the sort of way, and we're into last week of January.
Klopp's approach is completely different now. You know, I mean, like watching it. It's like watching a bully keeping somebody windmilling at arm's length for 45 minutes. Literally letting them punch themselves out, running around, chasing shadows, and then coming out the second half going, right, we're just going to take you to the fucking cleaners now. And that's how it's been. For me, like, it used to be the opposite. We would just steam. And I'm not trying to cover for my panic. I'm just saying, looking at Liverpool's approach for me is completely different. And it makes, like, I'd panic normally I used to panic. If we were 0-0 at halftime, I'd be melting down going, we've had so many chances, we've had so much. But his thing seems to be, yeah, that'll happen. See the second half when they've blown themselves out trying to keep up with us, we'll just steamroller them. And yesterday was just a prime example of it. And that's been going on, I think, for a while. But I haven't noticed it because I've been too busy melting down over a couple of bad performances at left back.
Goal difference in the first half in the Premier League this season, we're +9. And goal difference in the second half, we're +41.
Yeah, but there you go.
See, for me, it's more...
Sorry, not in the Premier League, in all games this season.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So for me, it's look, I'm going to be honest here. It's what I said when we had this discussion before. I think we're a lot closer to what you need than we think. And I still think there's probably a little bit that you could improve on. But there's never been a team in England, with the exception of maybe the City teams, where there hasn't been a position in the squad that couldn't be improved on when you've been challenging for titles. Even all those years with United, like, ask United fans, they would have looked to swap out a few of the players that Ferguson had there, particularly in the later years in terms of what it is. I think what's really impressive in this one is more so the mentality of the players. Because so many of those players haven't been there for any of our previous league title challenges. Okay? There's outside of Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Trent, right? Gomez and Robertson. The rest of them are more or less new, right? Elliott was around, but he wasn't in the squad like we see at the moment. Curtis Jones was around the squad, but wasn't an integral part as to what was going on. And then you look at Gravenberch, you look at the McAllister, you're looking at everyone, Endo and all that's all away in terms of what's there, as a Boziloi. They're all new fellas. They've come from different experiences and different backgrounds. Endo was this time last year was out spreading salt around the roads in Frankfurt to make sure that the cars could drive safely around the place. And then, like, you know, Zabazaloi was probably living up in Tenerife with the lads on their winter break in Germany. So it's very different expectations sitting their shoulders in comparison to what it was. So when I look at our squad and you say to it, I think there's two compounding factors that help us in this, in that the squads themselves, Manchester City squad is probably the weakest we've seen in maybe 5 to 8 years in terms of double teaming, right? I'm not saying it's a weak team. I'm not saying it's a weak...
No, I think it's an extremely strong 16.
Yeah, but I think where they've been 22, 23, 24 deep, this is a smaller version. This has been a smaller version of what they've had, right? So from that point, that's where I think their weakness sits. And I think it's been shown up by the injuries to De Bruyne and Haaland. And whenever they get stretched with all the number of games they've had to play, they've dropped points. Yeah. I look at Arsenal. Arsenal are sort of where they were last year. They've added players, but they're sort of not where they were because the teams around them are better than the teams that were there last year. I think this is another part of the proposition, is that we've got back to a level we expected to be at, unlike we were last year. And then everything else is wishy-washy. Villa having a great run. Spurs are interchangeable in terms of they're in the top four, they're out of the top four. Your man's doing a great job. He's also doing what Spurs... Somebody said to the Spurs fan at the start of the season, you're going to be there about the top four. You're going to be close to Arsenal's heels, and you're not going to be too far off the top. They would have jumped up, grabbed it with two hands, and been celebrating it almost like a trophy that they could get their hands on. And their squad is, like, if when we talk about our players coming back, like, theirs is fairly decimated, and he's doing a great job to keep them in the hunt for that top four when they could have easily drifted off and headed back towards the Chelsea.
He takes pressure off players. like no one I've ever seen. He just tells them to go out. Here, go and play 10-yard balls across your own 6-yard line. That's the way. And if you get caught, sure, it's my fault. He's great. He is very good.
Which is good for the 4th season, Pete. He's getting 4th season
Great
checks, so he's able to do it once. So to Gav's point, when I look at it, I think we've got our squad is a lot deeper, and I said it the last time, than we thought it was. Right? I was a fan of when I saw your man Endo play. I wasn't as rash in terms of people are, and it's a bit like now how everyone's saying, "Isn't McAllister great?" But look at your man Gravenberch. He's crap, right? A few weeks ago, he was crap. Everyone wanted him in. He was brilliant. Everyone wanted him at the start of 11, and they wanted Endo sent off to wherever he came from. Curtis Jones was on a boat out of Liverpool to travel around the storms and the seas. Now he's actually a great player. They want him to start. The reality is that what I think our management, and this is away from the players, what the managers and the coach on the side has been much better at than they have been over recent years, is managing these peaks and troughs. I think it's the first time Klopp has a squad that
he's trying to level it out, where he doesn't get peaks and troughs, where he's just trying to keep on a level field.
But it's also
a bit like where Pete came in, where he said, look, they used to go and hammer at teams. And when we win the league, we don't hammer at teams. We just control games. Like monotonously control games and win so many of them 1-0. I think he's trying to manage a kind of level.
But when I'm talking about that, he's also managing those natural peaks and troughs that players have across the course of a season. Yeah. Ferguson was brilliant at it, right? But I'm looking at it saying, okay, so Szoboszlai had an unbelievable start. And he drifted off just before Christmas, but it was at the same time he started getting more rests out of the team, and you're starting to see more Curtis Jones, you're starting to see more McAllister, Gravenberch. Gravenberch had a great middle part, drifted off in recent times, and he's now sort of reverted to the role off the bench, and he's had a great impact when he's come off the bench with Gakpo in terms of, similarly, Gakpo had a run at starting. Now he's been coming off and being the impact player. Nunez didn't start, came off. And what it is he's recognising when players aren't at their peak, and I don't mean their peak fitness, but at their peak level of performance, right? And he's managing that bit, that pendulum, that when this fella is going slightly off, I'm bringing this fella back in because he's now naturally on the upside, and this fella's on the downside, right? Mm. Now, not the downside that his career's over, just downside that with a little bit of rest and a little bit less pressure on him, I'm able to bring him back to there. And it's been, for me, it's been very well managed, which I would have argued over the last couple of seasons wasn't the case, and that's the most positive I've seen over. So when we talk about the squad, I think the squad management has been brilliant, despite all the injuries, despite the exits in terms of AFCON, Asian Cup, stuff like that. And I think that's been the biggest growth if we talk about the management and the coaching side of the club.
I think on it, when we look back to the back end of last season, I think we won a shitload of games at the back end of last season, but it's quite clear that a midfield issue arises there. You have Firmino leaving, or Firmino's out of contract and stuff like that, and people are like, this is a massive rebuild for Liverpool. I actually think there's two things to this. One, I think they've done the rebuild quite well, but two, I think they've played on the emotion of some of the departures very, very well to the players that are coming in and the players that remained. Because look, it would have been very easy for Liverpool last summer to go, right, Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner, one for age, 2 for just not being available. Them 3 need to go. We need to bring 3 in. Those 3 were possibly going to be Szoboszlai, McAllister, and one other, right? And I think and it would have been easy for Liverpool to go, you know what, will we keep Firmino for a year because we're doing all this stuff in midfield? They're quite ruthless on what they've done. When you look back in hindsight, they're quite ruthless on what they've done, and I think they've actually liberated a couple of players up front to show a little bit more. Jota feels like he's taking more and more responsibility every game he plays. We'll get on to Nunez in a bit. Diaz had a rough time personally, but I think he's starting to come back. He gets that goal at Arsenal. He links things quite well yesterday. He's just neat and tidy. He doesn't try to do too much. He's just a part of a cog in the machine yesterday. But when it comes to the midfield, and I was thinking about this as well, because when I seen the likes of, not so much Owen Beck because he's a left back, but when I seen Bobby Clark coming on, right, I'm thinking to myself, Klopp was probably going into the season not thinking of Bobby Clark, because I think he was going in, he thought he had Fabinho and Henderson, and that was his kind of, we can't do too much too soon. But I think the departures of them, Henderson in particular, I think Klopp's kind of gone, do you know what, fuck all. I think he's open, he probably said it to his squad, fuck all of them then. If they want to go, let them go. I'm going to bring in replacements and see these young lads that weren't going to be there, they're going to be in now. He's like, I'll get a fucking chance now. Fuck everybody. And I'm not saying a siege mentality, but I think he's actually instilled belief into the players that remained. he obviously had belief in the players that were coming in. But those ones on the fringes that would be well on the fringes and hoping for a League Cup appearance this season have actually come in and played. Bobby Clark's come in and played a few. Owen Beck is back now. He's only back and he's played. You know, the sort of way. And a couple more. Bradley. And I think just the way it would have been, I'm not saying it made his job easier, but it gave him a focal point in that midfield to go, listen, this is brand new. And these fuckers are walking out the door for the riches of Saudi Arabia. Now we'll go and fucking show them. And I just think the way that's being managed, there's something in me that tells me now that Klopp just has them on this sort of, not more like a mission to prove themselves. Not only to prove themselves as Liverpool players, because it's a big deal to prove yourself as a Liverpool player, regardless of the situation you arrive into, but also the kind of, you know, near on these fucking traitors walking out the door as well under contract. You know what I mean? And we're going to bring players in and we're going to show them. And I think that's made it a little bit easier in that midfield rebuild from. And everyone's dying to get on the pitch. You can see it. Gakpo comes on yesterday. Gravenberch comes on. They all come on yesterday and they all want to do something. Roll through that last 20. Not bothered, but they're not. Like Shawnee says it, 94th minute yesterday. There's 7 players either in the Bournemouth box or just outside that box, while the Bournemouth keeper is getting a back pass. You know what I mean? Simple things like that. It's just, I just think we have a mentality there that overrides the newness of this squad. Yeah. And I think the quality is adding up. And I think, I always say it, put me on the 1st of March and 3 points are in the lead and Liverpool will be on wheels for the rest of the season. It's just the way we go.
I completely agree with you, Gavin. That was, I think, where we finished up with the last conversation on the squads. That all this is about being in the right position come the start of March, right? At the moment, we're in the right position. We've got a couple of big games up ahead of us, but it's not those games against Chelsea and Arsenal that matters. It's the games against Burnley. It's the games against Fulham. It's the games against whatever random team is up from the Championship from last year that we need.
Well, where do you take out the trash? Do you know what I mean?
They're the 9 points. If you get a draw, even if you take 2 draws against Chelsea and Arsenal, and this is what, if you look at the league table from this year, you take those 2 draws, but you win all the other games around you, you're laughing. You're absolutely laughing, because this relentless beating of poor teams is what wins leagues. It's not the wins, the glamour wins against the bigger teams around you. It's the relentless beating of the shite teams. And we've seen it year after year. If you can put up, you only play 6 games against top 4 opponents, you add in the rest, you're playing 10 games against the rest, right? The other 28 games are against teams that are outside the top 6. Win them and you're going to win the league. Yeah, just naturally enough in terms of
if you flat track bully the bottom 13 in the league, and then you get your an equal amount of points of the top, the other 6 around you in that top 7. You go and win, and that's where Arsenal have failed in years gone by. Arsenal used to be outstanding against those 13 teams. You know what I mean? They'd put up 75, 78 points against whatever it might be, or 70 points against those 13 teams, 26 games. Do you know what I mean? But then if you looked at their record in the other 12 games, it'd be poor. It would be absolutely poor.
Absolutely.
And look, I'm not saying, I'm not here to tell you Liverpool have a better squad than Arsenal or a better squad than Man City.
You are.
Right. Well, I probably am a little bit. There's other factors. There's the experience. There's the fixtures ahead. There's all sorts of things that can happen. But I'm just, look, I'm not going to tell people what to do. But in my opinion, there's no reason for any Liverpool fan on this planet not to be sitting here on the 22nd of January with 17 league games to go and not be absolutely convinced that Liverpool can win this title. And don't try and make excuses, because listen, any of the excuses you've had have probably been thrown at us in the first 21 games, and we've dealt with it admirably. And if you look at the fixtures we have left, I just think we have.
You know, the talk of false positions and all, Gav, makes me laugh. Oh, the Liverpool in a false position.
Well, you can't be in a false position after 21 games. You can't be out of 6. There's no doubt.
I mean, there's so many straws being grasped at. Do you know what I mean? It's a pleasure.
And talk about grasping straws, Pete. You want to discuss Darwin Nunez and how much you now love him, right?
No, I don't. I will not listen. Listen, let's not go that far. The fella needs
fair play to Pete. He stand up and admit he was wrong.
He needs to.
I'm impressed with your willingness to accept that. I not only did I get it wrong on the squad side, I got it massively wrong on the Darwin Nunez side as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen,
as a confessional, well done.
I'll give him more. I'll give him his due. Gotta give him his due. I'll give him.
Can I just stop you? Can I just stop you for a second there, Pete? Now, can I just stop you there live?
Stop
Right?
again, yeah.
You would have been better tonight facing the opposite way and turning that light on behind you to face your face, right? And by just putting a little bit of a pair of white boxes over it, you would have had a softer light and it would have been much better lighting for the viewers watching the show. I'm just pointing out, right?
He's in a hotel in Bratislava.
Yeah, you just put a nice. That light is for reading, right? But you could have turned it on and you could have put a nice white filament over the front. That would have had a softer light in your face than the one we have at the moment.
It's the light up above the two pictures that's shining over his head.
I know, it's like he's wearing a white helmet on his head, right? A light helmet.
Doesn't matter. Just come on, tell us about Darwin Nunez.
Go on, tell us about Darwin Nunez. Sorry, I got sidetracked because I was watching.
I'm watching. I am in Bratislava in Slovakia, so apologies if the lighting is a little bit, Eastern Europe.
Live from Bratislava, Peter Smith.
Here is the results of the Bratislava.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I tell you what he's got, Nunez, for me, more than I thought he has. He's some bottle. I mean, it's very easy to miss chances being a high-profile signing and drift out to the left or drift deep. Like we'd see for example, the young flip at Manchester United, Highland. He wants to show everybody how strong he is, how tough he is. So he gets into tussles with right-sided or left-sided midfielders because he doesn't want to get into that box. People are saying he's not receiving passes. For me, he's not there. He wants to show everyone how tough he is, like an awful lot of other players. Or like Kai Havertz at Arsenal, who decides that he wants to be an extra midfielder when he's supposed to be either a false 9 or a number 9 because he knows he doesn't want to miss another chance. Whereas Nunez just keeps getting himself up, keeps getting himself into positions where he either has to deliver a killer final ball across the 6-yard box or he has to be on the end of it. You have to admire that. You have to. There's no fear in the young, and I think that again that comes from what's around him. It maybe comes from the rest of the lads just geeing him on, but he has an elite mentality as well as being an unbelievable. I mean, you could literally send that young fella to the Olympics. And I'd say there's nobody at the club would do him over 100 yards, maybe barring Virgil van Dijk. It's incredible. So for me, I was, again, bitching and moaning about his lack of output, about his lack of end product. But, I should have known better. You look at the Newcastle game, for example, 2 big chances he gets, not simple positions, buries them both against a team at the time that was still having some sort of form. But for me, yeah, another aspect, another person that's proved me wrong, and he'll probably go on and double those figures again, both in terms of assists and goals, and he'll be worth 150 million by the end of the season. And more power to him for having that mentality. Do you know what I mean? For having that. But I think Klopp, probably the club has changed his game a little. It reminds me a lot of when Manchester United signed Andy Cole and he was goals. They seem to want more out of him in terms of getting involved, and he seems to have answered that call. He works very, very hard. But his biggest attribute for me is he's brave. He's as brave as they come. That type of braveness to miss chances and still get yourself into those positions. Bravo. He deserves everything he gets, and he's making us a better side with his work and now with his goals and assists.
Gav, before I get you to talk to us about Darwin Nunez, why don't you tell us about the fundraiser?
Oh yeah, so our fundraiser this year, and anyone watching now or listening is probably getting annoyed at it, but we don't care. Our 2024 fundraiser is for fan support and food banks in Liverpool and the Lighthouse in Dublin. Both 2 organisations that do their absolute utmost to help people that are struggling to make ends meet. There's a GoFundMe there. 10 grand is the target. We're gone over the €1,000. It's always a difficult time to start it in January because Christmas and people are broke and you know what I mean. Sorry. They're struggling, but I know you all get paid at the end of this week, and that's when I'm going to hammer everyone. But all joking aside, look, they're 2 brilliant organisations. If we can raise this money, €5,000 to each of those will be immense, huge to them, absolutely huge to them. One of my family members works with the Lighthouse, doesn't work directly for them, but works for somebody else that supports them. And she's been banging on to me for the last couple of weeks of how good they are. And look, everyone knows fan support and food banks. If you've been near Anfield or seen footage of Anfield, on match days, you see what goes on there. People giving up their time to stand in all sorts of weathers to collect food and whatever else it might be for people that are struggling to make ends meet. So the link is in the description of the video. Whether now or if you're listening tomorrow, click on the description, highlight the link and go to it. You can put a fiver in, you can put a tenner in, you can put whatever amount you want in. But like I said, if you can donate, great. If you can't, please share the link. It's so easy to share it amongst everyone. And if you share it amongst Liverpool fans, or if you share it amongst Dublin people, or if you share it amongst anybody, somebody will come along and go, there's a fiver, there's a tenner. And that's how we build it all up. Before I get on to Darwin Nunez, I will tell you about the football prizes, the latest offering from them. Link is in the description for that as well. The latest prize, and I think there's only about 15 tickets left for this. There was about 60 last night. They're flying out the door. It's a double framed jersey offering of Alonso and Gerrard, both signed in the same frame. LED lighting within this frame. There's a mini TV in the frame that gives you highlights of the Istanbul final. It's cracking. It's $3.95 a ticket. There's about, I think there was 17 the last time I checked. That's going to go on the draw on Thursday or Friday. So there's about 3 days left to buy tickets, but when they're gone, they're gone. So they'll probably be gone by tonight. So if you want to be quick, go and do that. Done, Phil.
Super. Excellent. Now, Gav, what's your take now on the Darwin Nunez?
My take on Darwin Nunez has always been, and it remains the same today, you need patience with these sort of players, right? It has been since the day he walked in the door, and it has been right up until now. I'm not telling you after yesterday Darwin Nunez is the most complete striker in the league, or the most complete striker at Liverpool, or he's a world beater, or he's world class. I'm not saying any of that, because that's all them thoughts are being fueled by the fact that he's being reported as a £100 million player, when he's not. He's a £64 million player, which will rise to 84 million should Liverpool reach certain achievements, which will be a league title, a Champions League, him winning the Ballon d'Or, a Golden Boot, whatever it might be. If he manages to do all them, Liverpool will make loads more money than the 20 million we'll have to hand over to Benfica, wherever we bought him from, right? So that's the first thing. People went way over the top on the price. He comes in and everyone sees him as this lightning fast, tall, lightning fast, good finisher, that sort of striker. And you see in parts of it last season where he went to, I went and watched them last season. Yeah, Southampton at home. And he burns Southampton. Like, he burns them down the left, through the centre. And you could see what he was all about. But you could see the little bits in him where you go, that has to improve. Jurgen Klopp tells you at the start of the season that Darwin's not getting in the team because he's not utilising his physicality and the work rate to be in the team in order to trigger presses, do this, do that, do the other. Nothing about the attacking side of it. It was more about the tactical and defensive side of it, even as a striker for Liverpool. And they've worked on that. I think he's become a more complete striker. And I'm not saying he's complete, but what I'm saying is he's become a more rounded striker as this has gone on. The whole, Dr. fucking whatever they were calling him, mayhem and, all this sort of stuff. Okay, that's starting to go away, because what was happening with Darwin Nunez was he was quiet in games, he was drifting out of games, then he just lamps something at the goal and people go, this fella's mad, right? He still is mad. But what he's adding to the madness, right, and it's actually, pushing the madness down at the same time, is he's linking up better. He's finding better positions. He's creating. He's 10 goals and 10 assists. He's the first player in the Premier League this season to have both 10 goals and 10 assists. When you look at him yesterday, I love the second one simply because it's a poacher's finish, and I've wanted that from for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've been banging on about it because I think he's actually done really well. I think two keepers have made two fantastic saves from point blank against him. One being the Fulham keeper last week, and there was another one, Newcastle, I think. Dubravka makes a ridiculous save at the Anfield Road end. So with Darwin Nunez, for me, he's not complete. He makes us a much better team. And I think he's learning, and I think actually the club are learning, Klopp is learning, and the staff are learning, because they're not sticking him out on the left because you don't trust him up front. They're not doing that. That's an easy thing to do, but they're not. What they're doing is they're saying to him, listen, you go out left, right? You have a little run at that fullback, and we'll have Cody Gakpo inside you, or we'll have Jota inside you. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to let you go in the middle. And Jota's going to come out left, or Gakpo's going to come out left, or Diaz. And what he's doing is he's constantly making him link with players that are inside him, and he's constantly allowing them to both change. So they all know Darwin Nunez could link up brilliantly with Diaz down the left. But Darwin Nunez goes out on the left then. What does he do? Whereas I think he's actually starting to grow in both positions because he's being taught to link with various players from various positions on the pitch. And I just think he's been... I just think he's grown. He's absolutely grown into the positions he's being asked to play. The goals are coming. The assists are coming. The intelligence of what he's trying to do is growing all the time. There's still loads to go. There's loads to come from this fella. But I just think if you're watching Darwin Nunez, disregard what you're hearing on the internet about him, because it's all horseshit, right? It's the money quoted is not the money. Oh, he's missed this and he's missed that. Yeah, but he keeps getting in. And Jurgen Klopp keeps playing him. Jurgen Klopp could easily take him out and go, I'm playing Gakpo, Diaz and Jota, and Darwin can come up with 20 if we're losing, hoping to get something, or 20 if we're winning to give him a run around, try getting him a goal. But keeps playing him. Because he does cause mayhem. He's too fast. He's strong. You know what I mean? He has a finish in him. And people say, when he has time to think. No. He had time to think like yesterday. What did he do? He just let the ball do the work and scored on his first one. Right? When he doesn't have time to think, he puts them away. Right? Sometimes keepers make good saves and sometimes you just miss. That happens. But because he's Darwin Nunez playing for Liverpool, it's going to be blown out of all proportion. Still be patient with him. Still wait. Because I still think you're probably a year off Darwin Nunez showing his absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps, look at him, he just keeps showing up in those positions. I mean, I remember when, for
because
example,
he's given the confidence by a manager and coaching staff to go, listen, you just keep doing that.
Do you remember when Joe Linton came to England for, I think it was with Newcastle, and he had all those goals. He had all those goals in the Netherlands. Couldn't hit a barn door.
In Germany, was he? Was he with Hoffenheim? I think 40 million. I think.
Yeah, so but I thought it was Holland. But anyway, he just missed a lot of chance, and they changed his position because he was changing his position on the park to not be in those positions. It's very easy to do, you know. And I just noticed with Nunez, he's like, no, I'm just going to keep getting into that situation. Do you know what I mean? I love that in a young fella. I love that. Love to see it. I don't know if I'd have that.
But you see, the thing is for me is, and going just on the whole getting into positions and keep going. The amount of times Darwin Nunez finds himself in certain positions, and it's actually freeing up other players to do things. It's no coincidence all the assists he has is from Mo Salah. Because what happens is they get so attracted to him. And I always go back to it. The Aston Villa podcast that said, it's not fair. Liverpool are playing with an actual thoroughbred racehorse up front. How are you meant to deal with that? And what happens is, he'll have a bang from somewhere, and then you go, have to watch him. And then what happens is, when you go to watch him, he's just freeing up players everywhere. And I don't care if he gets another 5 goals this season, but if Salah gets 20, you're in with a fucking great chance. And you look at the Newcastle game, 2 centre-halves, terrified him. Terrified him. The one didn't want to go near him, and the other one was fucking like, will you please swap with me here for 5 minutes? He keeps getting into positions because the manager and the staff keep telling him, you keep doing that. Because at the end of the day, they'll fall to you. If you score 1 or 2 of those 4 or 5 chances in a game, we're getting 2 goals. And that's just from you, who's meant to be poor and meant not to be the best thing since sliced bread. I think he's been a good signing. I think the money stuff's been a bit mad, but I think he's been a good signing. I think he's improving all the time. And I think a lot of people might, you know, have a look at their opinion on Darwin Nunez come the end of the season and probably, you know, change that opinion, because I just think he's getting better and better, and that's not goals and assists. I just think his overall game is improving.
Yeah, if he was young for the same age, coming up from the reserves or coming up from the youth setup, doing the same things, you'd be going, well, what have we found here? And the English would be going, get him in there, international setup.
You mentioned your man Hoyland off United. Very similar position, £70 million, overpaid from Atalanta, probably, right? Probably overpaid from young fella. He's trying to do all of it. But the thing is, he's a victim of circumstance because United are all over the place and he is trying to do everything. Whereas if United actually found their footing somewhere, you could say to him, just go in the box, will you?
No, but Gav, that young fella drops 20 and 30 yards.
Of course he does.
To pick fights with right side of midfielder player, and then to turn around and go, you know, look at how strong I am. Look at I've seen it. You've seen it before.
That's a deflection. That's a deflection tactic over how the team are doing. You know the sort of.
I haven't commented here. Right, he's been having a big reach around celebrating your love for Darwin Nunez, and it's fair.
No, it's not a reach around love. I just think I think it was very balanced, Phil.
I'm not taking it back. I refuse to retract my statement because it's a fair and valid statement I made. For me, I'll be honest, right? One swallow doesn't make a summer, but if we get a flock of swallows, we might have a summer. My biggest issue with Nunez has been and remains and will be, we signed him as a forward. If he doesn't score enough goals, we're so reliant on Salah to come up with the goals. That was being the key issue for me. I love the chaos bit. I love all his running around. That's great. I love his personality and his appetite and the way he plays the game. Absolutely no issues. I said that right. My concern was he doesn't score regularly, and I don't care about assists. I don't care about goals. Because goals wins games, right? It's the same issue I have with Diaz. But if you have an
assist, that means there's been a goal.
No, I don't care because you hear XG and all this type of big chances.
XG is bollocks.
Don't want to hear about it. I don't care who. I don't care.
Yeah, but XG is the most bollocks stat that's ever been brought in the world ever.
I only care about who scores the goal. Right, that's all I care about. Who scores it? See you kicking the ball to him. Don't care. Anyway, end of story. Thing with me is, if he starts coming up with the goals, I'm all in. Right, I genuinely am all in. It's like the Luis Diaz thing. I'll never be in on him. Never. And I can never be in them because he doesn't score enough goals. Right? If he starts scoring more goals, brilliant. If he doesn't, then why would you play him over Jota, over Gakpo, over somebody who's going to score goals? He does nice playground tricks, phenomenal stuff, and I want him to score more goals. The difference is I don't want him to fail. I don't want these players to fail. I'm not actively cheering against them, which is what goes on, right? I want them to do well. But for me, I'm not going to anoint a king until I've seen this over a long time. And the greatest thing about Mo Salah is he's continually delivered year upon year upon year upon year upon year. Do I think that Darwin Nunez has the potential? 100%. He didn't score all those goals for Benfica without the capability of finishing. But when I see that second goal yesterday, that's heart in the mouth stuff for me because he has absolutely no control over that finish whatsoever. None. Right? Whereas when I see the second one, when I see the Jota goal, when I see the Jota goal, and he's fallen down, he has absolute control about where the ball is going all the time.
Robbie Fowler, that was like Robbie Fowler. It's like watching Robbie.
So this is the difference where I talk, where for me when I get into it. So am I delighted that he scored his goals? Absolutely. If in Salah's absence, Nunez steps up and starts getting that consistency and regularity in his goal scoring, listen, I'll catch the train. I'll run along the train and bang on top of the train in terms of what it is, right? No issues whatsoever, right? And I'm delighted for him, and I hope it pans out that way because I want all the players that are there to succeed. I don't want us to have to change a player or to have to do something because he isn't delivering. So for that's my position on it. I think it's great, and long may it continue. And it's like when I saw Gakpo come on, to me, it takes us into my topic, and particularly Jota in terms of what's there. When I look at this, I want to talk about great players who are bad footballers, right? So let me preference and frame this, right? Yeah. I watched Jota yesterday.
Alan Shearer, the best example.
No, hang on. This is where it stems from. So I'm watching Jota yesterday, and they're going, he does very little. So you're looking at him, right? And he runs up and down the pitch and makes brilliant runs, but he just scores goals, right? And when we signed him, he wasn't a natural goal scorer. And that started me thinking, going, how many players have I come across in me? Did I like them? Did I didn't like them? Is it just because he plays for Liverpool? And then I started thinking, remember Pippo Inzaghi? I used to love Pippo Inzaghi. Did absolutely nothing except score goals. Just loitering around the box. The offside rule doesn't even apply to them. They just manage to find pockets of space.
So more just kind of mechanical players than actual good. Where you go, he is just so fucking talented at what he does. Now there's definitely a talent there because
it's an incredible. They're match winners. I call them the match winners. They're seen as great players because of their ability to always turn up in the big moments and the key moments. So I started thinking about players, and I'll just name a few that are on the top of my head here, right? Thomas Muller, right? What does Thomas Muller do that's absolutely amazing? Nothing. He just turns up in the big moments and delivers goals, special goals, or a pass here and there, and that's about it, right? There's no flash or whatever about him. Davor Suker for Croatia. Awful player for every other team he ever played for in any other history of football, right?
Yeah.
Stick him in a Croatian jersey in the middle of a World Cup European Championships, 100 goals in the tournament, and he's electric. He's all over the shop in terms of what's there. So that's just the ones that are at the top of my head. Alan Shearer's a great shot. I was thinking Andy Cole. You mentioned him earlier, Gavin. I was there going, no, one of you mentioned Andy Cole. I was laughing because I'm there going, the first one that really jumps out was Andy Cole was an awful footballer, but he was a great player.
I don't think they're awful footballers. The way I thought about this when you said it to me earlier, and the minute you said it to me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in for this, because we always end up with deadly players, right? And you kind of going back years and stuff like that. And I kind of thought to myself, I was trying to think of players that you hold in the highest regard, right?
Right.
The highest regard because they were brilliant.
I've got one for you then.
Right? I have one, and I'm going to blow your socks out with it.
And I also have one.
But players that you go, so fucking instrumental, you know, they wouldn't be where they are without him. But when you look at him as what he does as a footballer on the ball, I could probably do it, right? But I haven't got everything else right. And I think the biggest standout one of the whole lot, and I hate to say it, is Roy Keane.
I would for me,
I think Roy Keane.
I won't be able to have that.
I think Roy Keane, defensively, the engine he had, the tackling he had, I think he was brilliant at it. Driving teams forward, he was brilliant at it. But when I look at players with talent that can do things with a football, where you go, they are just so talented. I think Roy Keane is overrated as a footballer. I don't think he's over. I think he's probably underrated as a football player, right? As to what he brings, but as a footballer, technical ability, stuff, and all that's thrown in, I think Roy Keane is probably one of the most overrated.
Doing the right thing 99 times out of 100, probably sometimes.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not saying he didn't do the right things. I'm just saying, when I look at a midfielder, you know, and maybe it's just something that I like to see in a player. There's a bit of silk to a player. And people say he was a great passer of the ball. He wasn't a great passer of the ball. He passed the ball to his fullbacks and he popped one into his front men, and you know, things like that. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there, and people can fucking lash me over. And that's just the way I had around it.
Give me one of yours.
One from the old days, Alan Boksic. One from now.
The Croatians are getting hammered here.
Declan Rice. One from now. I like if you threw a ball at Declan Rice, it would just bounce off his nose back at you. But he's very
You just need to think about this harder, right? So I'm gonna start throwing names at you, and you're just gonna be all starting nodding, going, "Oh my god!" Gary Lineker is a classic show for this, right? Was awful at football, a brilliant goal scorer, did it at multiple.
So there's just gonna be loads of goal scorers here, isn't there?
There is an element to this, but I'll get somewhere. David Platt. What did David Platt do on a football pitch?
He's a great volleyer.
He's very good technically. Very good technically.
At what?
His force touch is excellent. I mean, listen.
I used to hate the way he ran. He used to run with his head up in the
air. I hate looking at him. He had
Colin Hendry, the Blackburn centre half, was atrocious at football. Nothing got by him.
But could head the ball 90 yards.
Yeah.
Right?
Colin Hendry.
David Weir.
No, I'm gonna give you one of the biggest ones I have. David Beckham.
Stop.
I
hated him.
Honestly, Gav, what was he good at?
Give us right. So technically, you don't think he was a good footballer, technically?
I don't think he was a good footballer. I think he was a great player. Again, big moments, match winners, style, things like that, right? But what does he do? What is the signature Beckham thing outside of his hair and what he dressed as?
Perfect passing.
He was radar with the football.
No, I'm completely disagree with you there. Go back and watch him. You look at it going, how did basically it was just free kick central. And Trent can do that from right back and also be a good player, not having it. Right? Any player that was played football before 1970, right, fits this bracket, right? Honestly, if you go back and watch old football tapes, they were all like they were great players, but terrible footballers.
They weren't. Like if you go back, like Liverpool was. If you look at Steve Highway as a footballer, he was fucking brilliant on the ball. He was.
Did nothing.
He was brilliant. He'd great skill. He'd glide by people. Like Phil, you're going down a bit of a rabbit hole now where you're just going to decide every footballer is shy. You can't do that.
I literally said that.
I haven't seen many. I haven't seen. Oh, Brian says, "Nah, not having that, Gav. It takes talent to understand your limitations." And he did to him. No, you see, you've used the word limitations there. Like you've probably proved it a little bit for me, Brian. Right? So I want to read this one out. He says, "Nah, not having that, Gav. It takes talent to understand your limitations," and he did that tenfold. I'm 100% with you. I think Roy Keane looked at the package that Roy Keane was and went, "Listen, I'm not the best passer in the world. I haven't got the best eye for a pass. You know what I mean? I haven't got the tricks. I don't nutmeg fellas. You know what I mean? But what I do is I hit them hard. I run fucking harder than them. I tackle harder than them. I can't pass the ball because every footballer can. I'm just saying." as you're saying, great players, but not great footballers.
Yeah.
I think Roy Keane falls into that. And I'm not saying for...
So
listen, by the way,
give you one.
if you tell me that Liverpool signed Roy Keane in 1993 instead of him going to United, I'm taking him all fucking day.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's just where I am.
David Trezeguet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was poor. He was
Couldn't trap a bag of cement, but just scored in European finals.
Yeah, I'll give Jimmy Gill a shout as well. Frank Lampard. Go back and watch Frank Lampard's tape. There was no spraying the ball around. There was no control of midfield. The fella was a horse that ran from one end of the pitch to the other and hit bobbly shots into the goal that deflected off. He had an incredible talent to hit shots.
Mike McCardle says Brian Robson. I'm not going to agree with that.
Yeah.
I thought Robson was a very, very good player.
I thought Brian Robson was the second best manager at Middlesbrough. That's all I'm saying, right? That's what I'll stand behind.
After the fella that wasn't the manager, but really
after
was.
The fella, yeah. Gary Lineker was. There's a very controversial shout I have in my head, and I am very close to saying Pele. Right now, I think because I'm just
tune in 5 minutes where Phil says Lionel Messi.
But I think the biggest name I'm going to give on this one is Jurgen Klinsmann. He was a terrible footballer. He was technically terrible. Couldn't kick a ball. It bounced off his shins all over the shop, but had an uncanny ability to score goals.
Rudy Voller was worse. Rudy Voller was worse.
Rudy Voller
had never seen anybody get by through the sheer force of will. Just the sheer, like, you wouldn't look at him and go, what like, literally, was he quick? Was he a good header of a football? Just the sheer force of will. Yeah. Klinsmann was an athlete. He was an unbelievable header of a football.
Red Steve says, I knew you'd say Pele. Carl says Giroud has to be in there. Giroud's a good footballer.
No,
Giroud is good. Giroud's a technically good footballer, but he's not a great player. Now, there's the difference, right? That's the opposite angle to this. Where yeah. In terms of what it is. But I'm just looking at, like, this is where I get into. So when you say strikers, it's very easy because so many of them are strikers. Don't do really much around the pitch, right? In real terms, and don't offer much. That's why I think Jota is really unique in that he isn't an out and out striker. He's that sort of. He's like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm just getting cold.
It's like looking at Fowler.
That's Pele coming back to haunt you there.
That's Pele to get me there.
Almbo says Pele was shy.
Pele was.
He counted his goals in training. Like, once you do that, like, there's no, you know what I mean?
If you want to go the ultimate of this, it's Romario. Romario was.
Don't say that. No, don't.
No, Phil. Romario was a joke of a footballer.
Don't say.
Romario was like literally a great player. And he was so fucking good. He was so good. Remember when Barcelona beat United 4-0 at the Nou Camp? Yeah. Him and Stoichkov and just Jesus Christ.
The Corinthians game he played with Edmundo and basically ended.
And Edmundo bleeding flopped it around your man. Look, I think it's a great topic. I think it's a great topic because I think there's loads of players out there where you go, he's a great player.
Dorcow was a terrible footballer, right?
Correct.
A great player.
Correct.
The tackle at Everton that they still complain about was awful. Awful. Like,
Gary Doherty has a show here. Gary Doherty. Cascarino.
What was
Cascarino? Cascarino was just headed.
Another one that should have played for Ireland but didn't because he had one cap for England. What was your man that played up front for Bolton that the English press used
Kevin
to
Davis.
rave about? Kevin Davis. He was, but I'm just going to say he's not even in great players. He's in bad players that were bad football.
He did well. I mean, he broke 20 goals in the Premier League. I mean, if you and I had his record, we'd want a statue in Morden Road roundabout. Like, do you know what I mean? In fairness, but my God, just a tubby little fat tub of lard, like, incredible. You're right. What a show that is.
Kevin Davis is a good one. I just think you could go on for fucking days with this if you think through it. Like,
yeah.
If you think of most Italian strikers, so can I just say another one that started jumping out at me? I was thinking Italian strikers because you have the Inzaghis, right? Because most of them didn't do anything and just scored goals and they were good. You had your man that went to Klopp at Dortmund that was terrible. Went back to scored loads of goals. Immobile, that ends up scoring loads of goals for Italy, and it's like, maybe he should give you another chance. No, he's terrible. Your man, who's the money laundering fella, well, no, he isn't doing money laundering, but the conspiracy is that he's actually a money launderer. What was he played for Chelsea and Real Madrid. Morata. Alvaro Morata, right? Like, but no, I think he fought
Spanish club.
Ian Dowie's at the getting the show here. Ian Dowie is a fantastic show. I actually think Ian Dowie might be that. Remember that fella that was managing Nottingham Forest? Cooper.
Yeah.
Ian Dowie is definitely Cooper's uncle.
That's an unfortunate fleet.
On his ma's side. Ian Dowie always looks confused.
I'm going to give Luke Jackson a fair on this.
Did Ian Dowie play for Northern Ireland?
Yeah, last time.
Did he? Yeah.
Got a lot of goals.
Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba was a great player, but wasn't a good footballer.
Do you know who was a nightmare? There was a fella that played for he played for Sheffield United, and he played for Norway, and he played against Ireland.
Justine Flo. Do
you remember him?
Yeah, but his brother was a very good footballer. Very. Andre Fowler played for Chelsea.
Yeah, but do you remember your man Justine Flo? And they used to Sheffield United used to just lamp it out to the wing and just never at his feet, just at his head all day long and just headed it.
Couldn't tap it back.
Your man that played that everyone always used to talk about, but was actually terrible. Saviola.
Oh, Javier Saviola. Yeah.
Great player, bad footballer. Yeah. But see, why? Yeah.
I would have went the other way. I would have said a really good footballer, but not a good player.
Well, see, this is now we're into the margins.
Few names here. Henrik Pedersen's his own book. Brian O'Halloran says
Sharp,
Scamacca, Tony, LeQuente, Bellotti.
No, there's really ones out. Jimmy
Balotelli is the one that had all the talent and just decided not to be a footballer.
Yeah. But he's not. He wasn't a great player. He was a great myth, right? He wasn't.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Yeah, no, he was quality. Jimmy was quality. I mean, first of all, there's nobody in that group that would say it to his face. Second, the toughest man ever to walk on the football pitch. He's a very, very tough guy, and you'll never see anyone smack the ball as hard as that.
So Dan Austin gets me to my last name, right? Yeah. Milan Barros, because it always reminds me, and it's not because I actually think he's a great player, but he's in there because he came into my head when I was thinking about this topic as well, right? One of the players that's regarded as a great footballer but was actually bad, Nuno Gomez. This goes into the whole crap centre forwards who are
the long-haired fella at Portugal.
Yeah.
Very
pretty.
Did he play
surrounded by great players?
Did he play in England?
No, I don't think so. Played in Italy, I think, for Fiorentina.
I think he might have came on loan to England for someone at some stage.
No, you're thinking of maybe George Cadet or somebody went to West Ham that looked like him. But he was surrounded by great players. That was the whole thing with him, Phil.
Do you know who a huge letdown was? Who I thought was a great player and never fulfilled it? Sergei Rebrov. Do you remember he played with Shevchenko?
Yeah. And I'll give you one from back in the 90s that I thought was going to be a game changer for us, right? And again, great player, was just a bad footballer. Ivan Leonardson. If you remember what he did at Wimbledon and he came to Liverpool and he couldn't kick snow off a rope, this to me was I was there going, this doesn't make sense. He was a great player for Norway. Came to Liverpool, awful. Right, awful.
I just remember thinking he was going to be like Ray Houghton for us, because Ray Houghton was fantastic for us, and I thought, because he looked the same, he moved the same position, and for me, he just underlined how good Ray Houghton was for Liverpool.
Yeah. I'm just in the humour of just throwing out names now. Going, do you remember him?
That's a great show.
Yeah, Attilio Lombardo. I always loved Attilio Lombardo.
But Lombardo is one of these strange ones where, what did he do? He didn't do even step overs, and he was a winger, right? So do you know what I mean?
Was Crystal Palace manager? Remember?
I know, yeah.
Lombardo was one of those right-sided midfield players who walked.
I think it's
remember a player called Angelo Delivio played for Juventus? He was that type.
He was another fella that had no hair and then had a big head of hair.
Angelo Delivio was one of. He was a great player that was bad at football, right? I'm going to give you that one as well. I'll take that one. He was definitely.
Well, I'll give you one. The ultimate one then. Daniele De Rossi. Daniele De Rossi is probably the best player.
Nah,
footballer.
he had grace and beauty in the way he was able to pass and kick
Grace and
people.
beauty. He's a dog. He's an out-and-out dog. Like he's no links to the Ultras at Roma. No links to the Ultras.
Grace and beauty in the way he presented himself towards them. There was grace and beauty in the Roman Empire, and he carried that through to the world of football.
The guy's a dog. Like
doesn't make a difference. 1,000 years later, those statues and buildings are still standing.
Can I just mention one player that I always wished that just came on the scene or was given more of a chance when he was younger, right? And whenever I seen him play, and I actually went back a couple of months ago and watched a couple of videos, but the fella that was with Celtic for a couple of years, Lubomir Moravcik. Moravcik was just a joke, and it was like. I'll never forget it. I think he turns up at Celtic in around 98, right? And I think he plays an Old Firm derby near Christmas, right? And the only reason I'm thinking this is right, I think they beat Rangers 5-1. I think he gets 2. And I think I'm actually in town in Dublin doing Christmas shopping, and I come home to the result. And I think he was 34 or 33 when he joined Celtic. And we're like, where has this fella been? Left-footed, right-footed, passing, shooting. He was brilliant. Go and have a look at Lubomir Moravcik.
The thing was, Gav, I mean, Keith Plunk will tell you this more than anyone.
That's someone that was a good footballer, Gav. We go back to, right?
I know, I'm just saying, that's just another tangent.
Yeah, when the Iron Curtain fell and all these fellas discovered that they were allowed to use their passports,
I have one.
Let's go. Let's have you.
Fabrizio Ravanelli. Absolute shocking footballer. Scored loads of goals.
And Festa as well. Gianluca Festa, the centre back.
I'll give you that Ravanelli is a great shout because his ego was monstrous for a fella who was.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the photograph of him and his entourage? Do you remember the photograph of him in the paper and his entourage arriving at Middlesbrough? It was like Reservoir Dogs. He arrived with like 12 guys in suits.
He didn't even want to go there. He thought he was going somewhere else, and he ended up at Middlesbrough. And he's like, "What's going on here?"
Owen says Paddy McCourt, greatest player that's ever lived. Paddy McCourt was a joke as well. Yeah. If you get a chance, go and watch the 2 goals he gets for Rovers against Bowles at Dalymount, or Rovers against Bray Wanderers at Dalymount, around 2004.
Archie Doolan, I would just say to you, your Pogba shout, I don't agree with. I think Pogba is a smashing footballer. I think, but he fits a certain style and this end-to-end, box-to-box. He probably would have been a brilliant footballer. Yeah, he's the opposite. But I think Pogba in 2000, if he was born, he played football between 2001 and 2008, will be regarded with the same love as somebody that people have for Vieira and all those lads. Actually, there's some great Arsenal shouts to the midfielders that used to play.
Paul Giovanni says, and I think it deserves it. He says, "Surely we should have a quick chat about Ali Dia." Do you remember him?
Yeah. The funniest thing was though Graham Souness's reaction to that, even to this day, is like getting a phone call and George Way is on the phone. Yeah, we'll sign him up. He'd thrown him on like for half an hour.
Carl Robinson says Gabriel Batistuta, shy footballer but brilliant goal scorer.
That's insane. I'm not having that. That fella could do step over and everything. The basic premise is if you can't do a step over, you definitely fall into the bad footballer category. And when people are giving out Beckham, he couldn't do a step over.
Brian O'Sullivan says, surely it's Choupo-Moting. He must have great ability. He just can't play. Shy every time I watch him. This is not a Brian. That was at Stoke. Do you remember? Yeah, I remember him. I'm trying to think of. Do you know what I'm trying to think of? Just players that when you looked at them, you went, he's not controlling that ball. Like, he just looks like he's panicked every time he has it.
Stuart Downing was one of them players. Like he was on wearing noise gates, to be fair. Very quick, but like he was on wearing noise gates. He used to annoy me looking at him.
I'm trying to think. The Whitley brothers at Man City were awful.
Yes, and Jim Whitley.
Yeah.
Poor.
Do you know, Mario Jardell's a great shout, and Nicky Butt. And do you know who else I'll also throw in there, right? That was
Holland's a good shout as well.
Yeah, you know, the great player.
Do you remember in the 2002 World Cup when England decided that Nicky Butt was the best defensive midfielder in the world? Yeah. Do you remember that? That was great.
Pele, because Pele said it. Pele said he's the main man. And
what did I tell you in the middle of all this?
It's Pele, he's an arsehole. Michael's hit it on the head. Michael's hit on the head. Michael Murphy says, Toto Scalacci.
That's only for the Irish.
Yeah, but like he scored goals, but he was just
Didn't do anything after. No,
I can't. I'd have to have another big think about it. Maybe we can continue this next week. You just bring another list of players.
I think next week. I think the next week we'll go. It'll save us having to think up a topic. Next week's topic will be the reverse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week is great footballers that just never became.
Oh, Matt Le Tissier, the king of them. Matt Le Tissier is the king.
Can't have Matt Le Tissier because he's an absolute.
Yeah, he's a right wing moron. That's true. He's a right wing moron.
He won't watch this. He doesn't believe in 5G.
Good footballer, terrible player.
Yeah. So we go the opposite of this next week to see who we can think of. Right? Great footballers who don't have the reputation they should do, as opposed to great footballers who are bad at football. We go with brilliant players at football.
This week was great players that weren't good at football.
Yeah.
Next week it's great footballers that just never were great players.
Yeah. That were never great players, right? Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
Franny Jeffers gets a show. Adrian Mutu gets a show. Paolo Rossi gets a show. Carlton Cole gets a show. There's loads of them. Gattuso gets a show. Jardel gets a show. Jardel was a bit of a header, wasn't he? I've heard some mad stories about him. Yeah. And the best of all, and me and one of mine, and definitely one of Phil's favourite was Tino Asprilla.
Tino, man, doesn't get now. He's in next week's list.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He'd be in next week's list because Tino Asprilla.
What he did for Parma.
Is he the lad that tried to make a horse look like a unicorn for his daughter?
Yeah, and he also got the dinosaur.
Yeah, and did he bring out his own range of condoms as well? Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Probably.
What a fella. Christoph Dugarry for next week. Log his name, says Olivier.
He was quality.
He should have been in this week.
He was
Les Ferdinand.
I think Les is my hero. Him and John Barnes, my heroes.
Les Ferdinand is bordered into this week's list that everyone remembers him for jumping really high. Right?
The power, the leap of a salmon. Well, Liverpool
Pete's just proved my point. Right?
Dennis Wise was a shy footballer.
Yeah.
Dennis Wise was a shy footballer.
Don't dispute.
Another Daniele De Rossi. Same player.
Right, are we done?
No, too many players.
Hold on. Before we go, actually, now, just I'm hearing that. It's reminded me. So, as a massive, massive bonus to you, and listen, if this doesn't make you get a membership of €4 a month, right, nothing ever will. I think everyone watching now should get a membership or listening because Phil has found a pink piano and he's going to play us out. He's going to play us out with a tune. And
I hope there's pressures on this.
The pressure is huge because you played it perfect at the start, right?
I've never had a piano lesson in my life, which is amazing.
No, never. Remember Nilo went for guitar lessons and didn't bring a guitar. Do you remember that? Yeah, that's right. And he said he went down to guitar lessons and he went there and he was doing air guitar. And your man says to him, "Where's your guitar?" And he said, "No, my mum won't get me one until she knows I'm good at it." And he said he was doing air guitar in this guitar lesson, and your man was coming over and fixing his fingers for him. Amazing. Anyway, it's one of the best stories I've ever heard. Apart from the time when he was putting his sister's car because he shit himself outside the hotel at the Red Cow, but that's a different issue altogether. Anyway, Phil's pink organ. It's being called. Red Steve has called it Phil's pink organ. Okay. Listen, if you want to
I hope we get this right.
Yes, I hope you get it badly wrong, to be honest with you. Kieran B reckons you're going to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is quality. But you'll find out now in a second. Everyone's going to go quiet. He's going to hold it up to the mic and he's going to play us out. And as soon as he's finished playing, I'm just going to hit the outro and we're out of here. But if you want to become a member on the show, €4 a month. €4 a month. We're averaging somewhere between 20 and 25 shows a month there. There's a new series starting on Thursday, which Phil is involved in. There will be no piano, but Phil's involved with me and Keith. The greatest it's called, okay? So here we go to play it out. It's a bit like the latest. To play us out tonight, it's Phil Casey from Leopardstown.
It's like the late show.
So Phil, how did you find that toy we gave you for Christmas? Well, Ryan, I liked it, but the batteries ran out very fast. Right, listen, you have to go. It's fucking 11:20, you man. Right, here we go. Playing us out. Silence, everybody. playing us out tonight is Phil Casey, all the way from Ballybowden, playing. Well, you'll find out. Hold it up to the mic there. Roll it there, Roisin.
Well, it's just because I have to be able to see what I'm doing.
Right, go on. You're not laughing. Go on.
Sorry, that was a different song.
That was Silent Night. I named that tune. We just hear it now with Phil with his tongue half out like Dean Saunders pressing keys on the fucking organ and trying to guess what name it is. Let me see. The best LFC channel ever, says Ant Wango. You won't get this in many places, to be fair. Now, Phil, go on. Try to remember what song you're playing. Go.
Practice.
Right, go on.
One more go.
Do you know what it is yet?
I've been talking so much. Yeah, just. Right, hang on.
Don't stick your tongue out. You like Dean Saunders. Go on.
Yeah, bang, there we
go. Here we go. Right, talk to you in a bit. Phil's having a hernia, so thanks to Phil, thanks to Pete, thanks to me, thanks to the chat. Hit the like button on your way out, subscribe, put the bell icon on, become a member. We're back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Me and Kev with the 30. That's a member show. Talk to you in a bit. Good luck.